Good evening, welcome. This clock, which I rely on quite heavily, is 15 minutes off, maybe getting more, maybe it has stopped. Anyway, don't look at that clock. It is 6 o'clock. Welcome to City Council for February 23rd. I'll call us to order. Let's all turn our cell phones off. And let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any agenda additions or corrections, Abigail?
No, Mayor, we do not.
At the beginning of the meeting, we have a space always for business from the audience. If you'd like to tell us about basically anything you'd like to tell us. We have Marie here to tell us about Wacoma Park, if you'd like to come up. There's a red circle. You want it to be a green circle. If you touch the edge of it, it will turn green. You did it.
Hi, my name is Marie Euler. I live at 713 9th Street, about 150 feet from Wacoma Park, and I was just here to support the Earth Lab proposal. I talked to my neighbors about it. I'm so lucky our neighborhood is full of lots of little kids. And so all those parents are home taking care of those little kids on 9th Street tonight. But yeah, we all think it sounds like a great idea and we love our park. And so I can't really represent them because they're not here, but we're all like, think that's a great idea.
Thanks for letting us know. Thanks for coming down. Now, we have a new fire chief. We're here to welcome Chief Rogers, or perhaps Josh. I would love to hear a little bit about you from you, and Abigail, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to introduce you to our new fire chief, Josh Rogers. Tell you a little bit about the process. You might remember our previous chief, Leonard Damian, let us know back in, I think, October that he was looking to retire toward the end of the year, but he was flexible as to his time. We started a national search with GMP Consultants and had a pretty good response from as far as Maine to the middle of the country to a number of people here in the Northwest. So we had a good response. We narrowed that down to 4 people that we invited in. And then after multiple interviews, we really put him through the ringer. Josh is our selection. He started on the 9th. So this is the beginning of week 3. I'm so thankful that he keeps coming back. And I'm going to let him tell him a little bit about himself.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. I started my career 20 years out on the East Coast, and I am a 2nd generation firefighter, born and raised into the fire department. Love it. And made my way out here after my wife said, hey, we're moving to the Pacific Northwest. She's from Tillamook, and she got us out here. And then after being here for about 6 months, I got hired on with Dallas, and then worked up my way to the deputy fire chief there. And then this was my wife's one place that she really wanted to live, and it happened to work out just fine. It opened up, and super excited. Did some more research within the department, within Abigail, the city council. And it's a place where I wanted to be to work the rest of my career with. So super excited to be here and help lead this department.
We're super lucky that Josh comes from a similarly sized city, worked for Dallas, Oregon, that is also ambulance, EMS, has a great relationship with the hospital there, in addition to, the professional fire service. So he brings a lot of really relevant experience and has been welcomed by the team. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he and our fire department can accomplish in the future.
Welcome aboard.
Absolutely. Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'd like to introduce him to all of you. Come on over and tell us you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And we're here to hear a little bit more about the Little Free Earth Lab. Are you Sarah Lyon?
I am.
Welcome. Come on up.
I have a little presentation. Got it. I think I got it. Is that right?
That looks exactly right.
And
And
then-
then push it right. Perfect.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. Got my notes. So good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thanks so much for having me, community. My name is Sarah Lyon and I teach high school science and art at Hood River Options Academy, which is Hood River County's public alternative school. The window. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Nope. Just kidding. Toggling.
There you
Oh,
go.
I'm toggling the wrong direction. Thank you. For the past year and a half, my students and I have been visiting Waukoma Park, collecting data, observing, doing nature journals. This last week, we collected trash and did a trash analysis. It's become a really dear place for us, and we consider it an outdoor science laboratory. The ongoing work that we've done has sort of grown into its own class, our earth science class, and it focuses on sense of place, interconnections, and stewardships. So students are learning science concepts and how to care for a shared public space. I'm here tonight to propose a Little Free Earth Lab, similar to Little Free Libraries, except for this would be more of an art and science sharing station. Materials would be made by the students, and there would be an accompanied website, but it serves two purposes. One, extends classroom learning into a public setting and kind of gives an authentic audience for those students, and two, a community outreach. When we're there, we don't often see what's going on and the great work that the neighbors are doing. So a way that we can connect and work together. As I said, it would be supported by a class website. It's still being created right now by our communications director with the district. But that would be a place where community members and neighbors could go to access resources, engage in the citizen science projects that we ourselves are doing, and any other student-led projects happening. And it be student run, so they would be writing the blog and putting that together under my guidance. But in that way, learning is going to happen in the park as well as online, connecting students, neighbors, and the broader citizen science community. As you know, nearby neighbors have been notified of the proposal through a letter that I think you've also read. It's so heartwarming to hear the feedback and the support, and I want to take that in. It's you know, in the seed of its genesis. So yeah, really looking to make those connections. I will take full responsibility though for installation, maintenance, and possible removal if necessary. So Waukoma is a shared public space, and this project is rooted in care, curiosity, and respect for that space. My goal, with your approval and feedback from the neighborhood, is that the Earth Lab helps students see themselves as stewards, helps community members feel welcome to engage with science, and strengthens the connection between education and public life. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Sarah. I have a
Yeah.
couple questions.
Yeah.
Couple slides back, there was an image of the Little Free Library, but I
Mm.
couldn't quite tell if it's like 2 feet wide or 20 feet wide.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could bring it with me.
Is it like the size of the Little Free Libraries? Like it's
It's the smallest version, and it did come from the Little Free Library website. It was actually, I received that library as a grant through the Education Foundation.
Great.
So it's, yeah, about
it'll go on a post.
that big, yes.
Okay, good.
And I would have Kelby or the city parks there to help manage that as well.
And also I wanted to ask, do you know Jürgen and Susan Hess?
Yes.
Because they stood there like 15 years ago and
Yeah.
sort of said, hey, this is kind of a little scrappy place. Let's see if we can't improve it. And it's exciting to see you building on their work and making it even more of a wonderful city shared space.
Yeah, they actually were the inspiration. Not for the Little Earth Lab itself, but for our work with Waukoma. And I was connected through them from our prior administrator, Joe Kelly,
Right.
who, yeah.
Good. I just wanted
Yes.
to make sure that connection had happened,
Yes,
'cause
yes.
this is a nice synergy.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions or?
I had, when I was reviewing the materials, one of the questions I had was what was the feedback that you had received from the neighbors? And I just want to say thank you to Maria for coming and telling us yourself, because that's really great to have that feedback. And then the other question I had was that, so the agreement that you'll be working on with the city, that'll be between you personally, or will that also be the school district? Because it seems like such a neat program. It's something that I hope you will stay in forever, but in the long term, like, is this something that the school is also supporting and it'll endure for future students as well?
I hope so. As I said, it's in the beginning formation, and so I am creating a class. Hood River Options Academy has many legs, I should say, some iterations of it, and one of those is we're working on creating more career focused, and this class I'm hoping is to kind of get into that relevant, authentic realm where students are actually applying the science and getting outside. So with that class creation, that could be handed off to a successor, I believe. And yeah, and that curriculum would live with the district. But no, I do not have any plans of leaving. I was born and raised here, and I'm very happy to be here. Yeah.
So just to answer the question, the agreement would be the school district and the city, like just in case I were to ever leave, it's not between us as individuals, but us as organizations.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And also before the meeting started, you said you had received some feedback beyond what Marie told us today.
Yeah, I got a sweet email. I didn't bring it up, but another neighbor had written about how he uses the park and how they're removing some blackberry and his kids play in it with their friends, and just that they were excited to check out the website. Yeah.
Amanda?
I don't really have any questions, but I just want to say thank you for doing this. I think it's a great project, and especially in this location, I feel like Waukoma Park is it's an interesting piece of property and land, and so it's nice to see ways for people to interact more with it and to maybe draw people there a little bit more. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, really hoping to maintain the integrity of the space.
Great, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Do we need to take action, Abigail?
Yeah, there's a motion. There's a suggested motion on page 3.
I move we accept the donation for the proposed Little Free Earth Lab and direct staff to work with Sarah Lyons to craft an agreement for its ongoing operation.
Moved by Paulson,
Second.
second by Cavallari. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Gladys, do we have you on?
Yes. Can you all, it says that I can't enable my video.
Thanks for
It
letting
says
us
the
know,
host
Gladys.
won't let me enable my video.
Jen is doing the Jen thing. In the meantime, you voting?
Yes, yes, full support. Thank you so much for doing this.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thanks again, Sarah. Thanks again, Marie. That takes us to the urban renewal agenda. I will recess the ordinary meeting and hand the gavel over to Chair Stepina.
Thank you, Mayor Blackburn. First thing, any agenda additions or corrections? Well, no, there are not. Next item we have is business from the audience. Is there anybody that's here that wishes to speak to the Urban Renewal Agency Board? And Jen, is there anybody signed up online? Okay. Next item is going to be the supplemental budget public hearing. So the way this is going to work for the board members is we're gonna have the public hearing. We'll then go back to the consent agenda, and then we'll hear about the supplemental budget and the regular business items. So this is the time scheduled for a public hearing regarding a supplemental budget for the FY 2025-2026 for the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency. We will now take public testimony. City Recorder, has anybody registered to speak or has provided written testimony? Jen is indicating no. So therefore, the public hearing of the fiscal year 2025-2026 supplemental budget is now closed. The agency board will take up the supplemental budget during the regular business items portion of tonight's agenda. Okay, so the next item that we have on here is the approval of the meeting minutes from the consent agenda that are on pages 3 through 5. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Gagi,
Second.
second by Paulson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
And just for clarification, that was a vote in favor, correct? Gladys Rivera?
Yes.
Thank
Vote
you.
in favor. Yes.
From the sky. Okay, chair votes aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda passes, and we're going to move on to regular business items. First is supplemental budget and Will.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Stupina, members of the agency board. I won't go into too much detail unless you'd like me to. This supplemental budget is really doing some administrative work, recognizing audited beginning fund balance and adjusting budget to those beginning fund balances, same as we do as a city, adjusting capital project budgets to be more in line with current anticipated spending, reclassification of an appropriations category, and that's pretty much the bulk of it. We went into more detail with the advisory committee on Thursday, and they have unanimously supported the supplemental budget. So with that, I'll be happy to go into more detail if you have questions, though.
Okay, any questions for Will? Online?
None for me. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, there is a motion on page 7 if someone would like to make it.
I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board adopt resolution 2026-URA-01, a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2025-26.
Motion by Polson,
Second.
second by Cavalieri. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Chair votes aye. Supplemental budget passes. Middle housing construction incentive proposed changes, Will.
Thank you. So I have some proposed changes for our middle housing construction incentive that the agency launched in 2024. It's been out there, it's been about a year since we've really marketed it. We sent out mailers with a brochure to every property on the west side that has developable land, to every builder who's pulled a building permit in the last 5 years, and we also to a list of middle housing developers in Portland and the Bend area that we got from a consultant, as well as created a web page for the incentive that gave examples of eligible housing type lot layouts and what the incentive payments would be. After that marketing push, we got a couple emails and calls, but no applications so far in its first year. And so I looked at what could we do this was our first try as an agency or as a city to incentivize market rate development of any kind. So it's been, I think a bit of a learning process and an exploration. And so wanted to revisit, since we haven't gotten any applications, some adjustments. And so I have some adjustments to propose to you tonight. So first off is detaching from the middle housing standards. So before or the current iteration of the program, if you use the middle housing standards, you are an eligible project to get a construction incentive on the west side. And I'm proposing switching that to just size-based requirements. People would still be able to use the middle housing standards and also be eligible for this program and get all the density bonuses and regulatory benefits that come with the middle housing standards. But I'm proposing to detach from those standards to make it just clearer for people. And you have a email from Elizabeth Betts from Klein, who had some input on just how the middle housing standards might be prohibiting some folks from accessing this program that may have otherwise. And so I'm proposing to simplify by just going to set maximum sizes based on the number of bedrooms. And so you see it in the table there, starting with studios being limited to 600 square feet, and then basically adding 200 square feet as you add a bedroom. This also would allow the middle housing standards don't go any higher than 1,200 square feet. And so that would be extremely difficult to have a 4-bedroom fit within 1,200 square feet. So this also expands a little bit in that way. Second change is to timing. So the original program gave the incentive at certificate of occupancy. So that's after you've done all your land entitlement, you've gotten land use approval, you've gone through building inspections, and you're now have a completed project that's ready to be sold. It's fully baked, fully finished, fully completed, and that's when we would give the incentive. And the reason why it was initially set up that way is because the funding for this program, as for all urban renewal programs, is tax increment. So we wanted to make sure that taxable value was going to go onto the rolls before we outlaid any funds. And from the very beginning, we got the input that this was challenging. This was a real downside for builders because builders' cash flow is king, and they're running on real tight margins, and their cost of capital is very, very high. So it was going to be a significant benefit if we could move that sooner in the development process. For the first iteration, I just wasn't comfortable taking any risk for the agency. But after digging into this deeper, and actually from information I learned through the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Fund, found that work in progress does build taxable value. And the county assessor has a table that gives direction on basically how much to assess a house based on different construction milestones. So I do think that we can move up the timing of this incentive a little bit based on the proposed in the table there. 30% of the incentive at framing, another 20% at when electrical is done, another 25% when doors and trim are in, and then the final last 25% adding up to 100% of the incentive at certificate of occupancy. And that will still align with the taxable value being created. And then lastly, is moving away from an amount, a formula that's based on equalizing the development fee burden between large buildings and large homes and small homes, and just going to a flat rate per unit. And so to remind everyone kind of how the idea behind the equalization of the development burden was we queued off of what would a 3,000 square foot home pay. And these are slides from when the program was adopted. So some of these figures are a little out of date, but they're still show the concept. So a 3,000 square foot home would pay about $37,000 in development fees, which equals, and then a cottage cluster would pay for 4 units would pay about $125,000, and then the Clearwater development multifamily $393,000. So more when you have more units, but also significantly more as a percentage of the development costs overall. And that's because many of the development fees are flat rates per unit. And they have to be that way because SDCs are governed by state law, and they must have a direct nexus to the actual input or system demand. So the idea was to size the incentive on what would make all these other development types on an equal footing with a 3,000 square foot home. So I think overall, a good idea and a good way to start when we were doing our first foray into subsidizing market rate. And it was also something that seemed to be feasible with how long it would take to the taxable value to refund the incentive. So with the cottage cluster, we estimated about 16 years to pay back the incentive, and with the multifamily example, about 7 years. And I think that's about the bookends. But feedback from Elizabeth that's in your packet kind of summarizes, I think, where that doesn't fit well is developers often aren't bringing their own money to a development. They're pulling money from banks and construction loans and also investors. And not having a set dollar amount that they can point to and having to have this explanation of, oh, well, it's the formula that will equalize my development fee burden based on what a 3,000 square foot home is. It doesn't, it's not something that can be underwritten, and it's not something that helps you get a construction loan or an investor to invest in your project. And so I'm suggesting we switch to a flat rate of $12,500 per unit. And that's right about in the middle of what the West Side District constructability analysis that Echo Northwest presented to us last year said that was necessary for middle housing to compete with single family homes. So I think that's a good place to start. So those are the three changes that I'm proposing, and the advisory committee unanimously supported these changes, and had the following input to add on is one, don't wait another year if nobody applies for this. Consider adjusting it again within 6 months. Consider maybe in future iterations if we want to change the incentive based on how many bedrooms the home has, rather than just the dwelling unit itself. And then even consider providing the incentive even earlier in the development process, with the understanding that it is taking on some risk that if the developer doesn't finish their project, we would be left without new taxable value. So that was input from the advisory committee. So then I'll answer any questions.
Questions for Will? Anna, please.
It was super helpful to have the input from Elizabeth Betts at Klein, but I'm curious if you got any input from actual builders or from the marketing push that you did. If you heard from any of those prospective participants in the program of what might help them be more interested in using this program?
The getting it earlier, the timing issue, I heard that from builders the first iteration quite a bit from several of them. But no, I haven't got additional feedback. I found that builders and developers are mostly interested when they have a project in the pipeline, and are a little less interested in giving feedback when they don't.
Any additional questions? Paul?
Will and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I work in Klickitat County, and next time you go to Dickey's Farms, right behind there is a 60-unit development, some of which are going to be online this year. And Will's immediate reaction was, wow, let's make sure that developer knows about our incentive program. And what for me really came out of that conversation was there's so many variables and factors in the economies and the marketplace that without even any incentives, it made sense for that developer to be building that. There's no government support over there, but 60 units, some are townhouses, most are apartments, popped up in a cornfield in Bingen, whereas over here we're pushing the rock uphill, and just there's so many federal, state, local policies and geopolitics, with tariffs change, when rates change, when costs of lumber change. It just we're doing what we can, and there's so much that we can't. It was really kind of what drove that home. So I'm excited that we're adjusting our strategy to see if we can't be more effective.
I have a couple of concerns. I'd like the payment timing idea, understand the cash flow reasons why doing that. The first concern is regarding eligibility, divesting or detaching this incentive from code. Are there any concerns that we are creating separate layers or separate levels of bureaucracy or whatever it is that may misalign with each other? We would be detaching this incentive from our middle housing standards and creating an additional set of types of housing based on arbitrary numbers of square footage per bedrooms. Are there any concerns with doing that instead of abiding by our current code and perhaps, if needed, adjusting our code to meet this, as opposed to creating this additional layer?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And I think you hit on why we tied to the middle housing standards in the first place. I didn't hit on, I meant to mention too, another reason for detaching the middle housing standards is the development code update may make that chapter no longer exist, as those components of the code are integrated with the fuller comprehensive code. And so if we don't detach from it, we may be pointing to a non-existent code chapter in the future. And secondly, the middle housing standards have a lot of design components. There's a lot of additional, it's very much a negotiation between allowing much higher density, but also additional design requirements. So that's really what it's about, is a sort of quid pro quo that will allow higher densities while maintaining neighborhood character. And so that's its purpose, and it does a great job at it. But the size based is really about what's probably going to be most affordable. So all else held equal, smaller homes are cheaper than bigger homes, both in sales price and in cost to operate. And so this is more purpose driven of, if it's just about affordability, then this is your incentive and this is what we're trying to incent.
All right, thanks. Then the other one was the equalizing development of fee burden amount. When we first discussed this, we had a very deliberate conversation about equalizing that percentage. That was a topic that we discussed quite a bit. If we set this at a fixed amount, would we not be going back to unequalizing, quote unquote, that fee burden based on the per unit build?
Yeah, it wouldn't be as, I guess, intricate or what's the word I'm looking for? Nuanced, yeah. We didn't, so we basically, I think because this was our first try at incentivizing market development, we wanted to be as precise and scalpel, not a sledgehammer. But the trade-off, like I said, is that it doesn't really, it's kind of a round peg square hole for underwriters. And at the end of the day, if you can't underwrite a project, you don't have a project. And so that's where I'm proposing a flat number. I think in the scheme of things, these homes, even the small ones, are selling for $500,000 to $750,000. So whether, I don't think, under the previous model, I would have gotten 4,000 and now I'm getting 12,000. That's like minuscule in the scale of what we're talking about. So I don't know if so perhaps maybe someone's getting more than they would have, but I think it's minor, and the other objective is to actually have the system be useful for underwriting.
Yeah, thanks. Tongue in cheek, I'm kind of surprised that the bankers can't do the math, but all right, thanks.
Gladys?
Thanks, Will. Appreciate being here. Given that this is like a trial for us, when would this come back to council for us to evaluate the effectiveness and any potential changes to this incentive?
Yeah. Thank you. So I waited a year this time. The advisory committee recommended 6 months. I'm happy to take direction on whenever the agency board would like me to evaluate and return for additional changes.
Any additional questions? Anna and Ben?
I'm sorry, Ben. Can you just clarify too, this is only applicable to the West Side Urban Renewal District, right? This would only apply there. Is it an option even to consider maybe like expanding that? And the other thing that you said was, if houses are like affordable, attainable houses are at $500,000 over on the West Side, like, potentially selling for that much, maybe your 12.5 or $12,500 is not incentive enough. Like, the problem is the cost of the land. You can't get a lot for less than $300,000. So again, this is kind of where it'd be really helpful to talk to, people that are considering or would even consider these kinds of projects. And I mean, it would just be helpful for me, and maybe that's my own homework, to like go and talk to these folks and find out like what would help you actually start a project. Because maybe, like you always say, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah. I think that we may find that this isn't enough money. one problem is with expanding outside of the West Side District or even making it bigger is where the funding comes from. In the West Side District, we have tax increments, we have a funding source. But already we're pushing maybe 10 to 15 years of tax increment that we're giving upfront. And so it starts to be, how long do we want to wait for that payback and that break even? And if we're getting really far out, you know, then it's more, right now it's sort of based where this program pretty much pays for itself, and so that makes it really scalable. If we get to the point where we're incentivizing so much so that it's going to take decades and decades for it to pay back, really, we're not talking about it paying for itself. We're talking about robbing other projects in the West. We're using like existing tax increment rather than new tax increment to pay for the incentive. Does that make sense? And then it's talking about, then I think it opens up the discussion of what's more valuable, this incentive or putting money towards the Mount Adams roundabout or other infrastructure investments that could open up wide development. At this level of incentive, I'd say it pretty much pays for itself. And so it's not really robbing other programs, if that makes sense.
Does, may I quick follow-up? Like, if it's not actually producing anything though, there is no future tax increment. So like, where do we split the baby? Like, where do we, you know, we take just enough risk to actually start something and initiate some development, and not so much risk that we are, you know, taking from future projects? How do we use your magic 8-ball and tell me that answer?
Yeah, well, I don't have to use Magic 8-Ball because I really relying on the constructability analysis that Echo Northwest put together for us. And so they quantified that we're kind of in this range for what makes a smaller home on equal footing to a larger home. And then we can, we could bump up to 15K or maybe 17.5 in the future if we want. But this is, if we start here, we're testing the market.
And
Since we're going to obviously adjust, I'm sorry. I saw that Councilor Gladys's hand was virtually raised.
Gladys is next.
Okay. Since we're going to be like readjusting this and obviously going out to do presumably another marketing push since this has changed, I don't know if it would be helpful to also include the other incentives that are out there, like for example, that DEQ grant that's, $20,000 per door for, I forget, it was like 1,400, anything less than 1,400 square feet or 1,200 square feet or something like that, to just, I know it's not our program, but to just, add another incentive, like here's another thing that you could do, you add 20 grand to that and, 12,500, like that's certainly a significant, reduction in the cost. So don't know if there's any other opportunities out there besides that grant in terms of what incentives there are either from us or the state or feds to get those costs down. Like maybe that's, helpful to add that in there if we have access to that information.
Yeah, I think so. And that was part of the goal of attaching it to the middle housing standards was put more, messaging behind that too, like see if they can kind of raise each other's profile at the same time. Yeah, I'll talk to Dustin about maybe getting folks interested in the EPA money as well out of this. I know it's not just size with that program because it is federal. There's Build America, Buy America, and there's just a whole host of federal requirements that, and just the conversations with developers that I've had while sitting in with Dustin is that the problem isn't the size or the dollar amount, it's that the federal restrictions start to be a net negative even with $20,000 a door.
Didn't realize that. Thanks.
Thanks. I had a similar thinking to Councilor Mitchell. How do we send all of this out in a marketing package, include any developer that has built anything, any sort of housing within the city so that they have awareness of these changes? And we'll continue to go back to the, the recommendation does say those 6 months. Is that too long? Should we do something along the lines of 3 months, for example? I'm trying to figure out when would be a good time to bring this back to see this isn't working, this is working, where do we potentially adjust?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think it's a judgment call and I defer to the agency board. I could see one wanting to be dynamic and adaptive and quick moving. At the same time, I could also see a developer saying, oh, if I just wait, they're gonna increase the price of this and I'll be able to get more money, so maybe I should hold off. So there is something about creating urgency as well, but it's tough. It's a tough call. There's no right answer, I don't think.
Any additional questions? Amanda?
Well, not so much a question, but just to kind of have conversation about the length of time before we revisit. Yeah, I guess I don't know enough okay, you hear about this, when will they hear about it? And then how long does it take? Like, oh, you decide you really want to do this. Would we even know in 3 months that people are actively working on this? Or would it take 6 months to be like, okay, now we're seeing something from that change? 3 months seems for me a little bit short, but again, I don't know development timelines.
I agree. 3 months seems really short.
Well, when if someone was to make a motion about this, would you want that month figure in it?
No, or your choice.
Okay, yeah, I'm just, I mean, you've got, essentially the recommended motion is just, to accept the changes, then the advisory committee, says 6 months, a couple other considerations that seem to be future based. That seems to be the only one that's kind of now needs to be
Yeah.
decided.
I'd say if the agency board wants to direct a certain time frame to return this, then include it in the motion. If you don't want to explicitly direct that, I get, I've heard the discussion. I'll monitor and I'll bring it back when I think the time is right.
Okay. Additional questions for Will? Do we want to have any discussion on this? Do people feel like they are seeing this clearly at this point? I'm up from Ben. Ball. Okay. And yeah, Will, just thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know this is a transformative program that other people in Oregon are looking to see, can we make this happen and whatnot? So appreciate that you're doing as much as you can to try to make sure that we have a program that's workable and while still remaining agile. So yeah, with the spirit of that, would anybody like to make a motion on this?
Happy to. I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board approve the proposed changes to the middle housing construction incentive.
Motion by Gladys,
Second.
second by Amanda. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, Will. Next on the agenda is the Heights Professional Services.
Thanks. Chair Stupina, members of the agency board, I have 3 proposed contracts in front of you tonight through the qualified pool list to get some work done in the Heights that will allow us to transition quickly. Once we have a design services team on board through current RFP, that's going to take the first 3 Heights streetscape plan projects to full construction, with construction slated for late spring of 2027. So we have the RFP for that design services team, but 3 things that we can do now to just have the data ready for them to hit the ground running, so to speak, is a survey, increased survey from Klein. So they surveyed what was necessary for Taylor Avenue. But now that we have a conceptual jurisdictional transfer in place, we're moving forward with all 3 of the first projects. And so we need to expand the area of the survey. Also is geotechnical work through GRI. So they're going to do soil sampling and also pavement sampling. It's going to look at infiltration and soil types, which influences how the stormwater components and are sized and designed. And also the pavement will look at how much of the pavement can we keep, or basically really dial in how much of the existing pavement and concrete out there is reusable. And then lastly is more refined traffic analysis from DKS. It's not only unit counts, but really dialing in what are the types of vehicles that are going to be driving on the road in the future. And that will influence pavement design. And we think, can help us really refine and not overbuild once we have the actual data of the types and volumes of vehicles that will be using this, we'll be able to save quite a bit more money on not overbuilding the roadway when we design its construction. So, the contract amounts are in your packet, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions for Will? Anna?
Sorry, Will, I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
I am curious, so the financial impact, it says that the construction budget for the first 3 Heights streetscape projects is approximately 4.5 million. Heights Urban Renewal District has approximately 6.5 in remaining maximum indebtedness, and the city expects 4 million from ODOT as part of the jurisdictional transfer. I'm just curious where are we banking on future money to pay for these particular projects right now, or we've got that in the budget?
We have this in the checking account, this amount, but I just wanted, we're always running against that timeline of maximum indebtedness, so I was just giving you kind of a snapshot of where we were there.
Okay. And then I was curious about that, but my firm represents one of the vendors, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, noted. Thank you. Additional questions? Thank you, Will. Then I would entertain a motion. There is a suggested motion on page 20.
I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board authorize award of the attached projects to qualified pool firms DKS, GRI, and Klein and Associates as presented.
Motion by Grant,
Second.
second by Paul. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Will. Moving on. Staying in the Heights informational display.
Yes, and this one doesn't, from a dollar amount, rise to take it to the board, but with Chair Stepina thought that maybe folks would be interested in just having a heads up of things we're working on. But proposing to put in a permanent informational display up on the Heights to talk about the Heights Streetscape Plan. I get questions quite often of what's going on in the Heights. When am I going to see something? I don't know if you get the similar questions. But as this project, will ebb and flow in activity, we really don't have any information memorializing all the work that went into the streetscape plan or what it's going to do in the future other than online. And so the idea was to create kind of a physical artifact that's in the Heights that talks about its history, all the work that went into it, its goals, the sequencing of the projects that are going to happen, and then always pointing folks to the website to get the most current information. So having a QR code. One of a former member of the advisory committee graciously offered to allow this to be installed on a corner of their property at Taylor and 12th Street. There's a extremely rudimentary image of kind of what we're talking about in your packet on page 21. And so what's still needed is graphic design. That's $5,000. MIG, we chose them because they did the Heights Streetscape Plan. They have all the information and graphics and pictures. And this dollar amount fits into their current budget for the Taylor Avenue 30% engineer designs that they're doing. So this is budgeted work, but still a decision point. And then stand fabrication is going to be $2,000 to $3,000. So the steel and welding. And I believe Public Works can likely install. So talked about this with the advisory committee, and they were unanimous in their support. Information feedback that they had was to consider not only installing it an informational display at this location, but also on the north end of the district near the future roundabout, maybe somewhere in Jackson Park, and then also on the southern end of the district. And that's something we can definitely look into and do. You know, Jackson Park we own. There may be a way to install it, maybe somewhere around 10 speed. After we move through construction, there's going to be a bus stop, a future bus stop over near 10 speed. But the bus actually can't use it until there's a roundabout because they can't make a right. So there'll be a bus stop without buses yet. And so that could be a place, maybe an informational sign could fit. The advisory committee also said to prioritize plan goals, project sequencing, and the QR code over the project's history if space is a limiting factor, such as we get into it. And also they discussed considering different sign proportions, maybe being more of a portrait orientation and making the sign more visible to motorists. So not its intent, but I'll talk to the city engineer. We kind of discussed this a little bit, and if we get too vertical and too large, it starts to be more of an engineering task with wind loading. So, but definitely can consider it. So just looking, there is a suggested motion if you're in support.
Anna.
I'm sorry, Will, but I don't like those big signs. I feel like they clutter everything, and I don't know how much foot traffic there is going to be around there. I think it's a great idea to try to help, our community understand what the future could be. But $8,000 is a lot of money for a sign, and I just think I park over there when I go to yoga sometimes, but that is not a highly trafficked, foot traffic area where somebody's going to stop, read the history, and I just think a lot of signs kind of clutters things up. And I think maybe we could do really nice posters and talk to the businesses that are in that area and see if they'd be willing to put some stuff in their windows like they do for other events for a fraction of the cost. So I appreciate the idea of getting more information out there, but I don't like the idea of signs, cluttering up a lot of them cluttering. We don't need additional signs in Jackson Park, and it just takes away from the natural, regular look of our town.
Paul, then Gladys.
I think you make a good point, Anna. Thank you.
Gladys?
Yeah, I appreciate the idea, but I was wondering if instead of, and I'm happy to volunteer since I'm bringing this up, to create some sort of video messaging where I think a QR code would be great to have, but the QR code then goes to a video, for example. I think about not everybody captures information or retains information the same, and how could we communicate these efforts through a message like a video, for example. Happy to support those efforts as well.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Will, is there an equity component to having something like a sign? I think we could debate about things like, where the best location is. I think that, the fact that Travis Dillard's offering this for $100 a month is
A year.
a year, $100 a year. Sorry. Wow. It's very cheap for that. So, I think that's great. And thank you, Mr. Dillard, for recommending that. Are there options that you've been able to identify for better locations with more foot traffic? We've done signs like this in the past, visit Hood River information, et cetera. Is this not being an expert in signage, is this a good deal on a sign for that size and scale? So, question about location, question about equity, question about the price. I
Yeah.
guess.
And I'll just say whatever the agency board chooses is totally fine. Let's see where to start. As far as I did want to say, also one of the QR codes would be to scan, and then you'd have the graphic all in Spanish. So I did want to mention that it would be bilingual to make sure everyone's able to get the information. I guess electronics, social media, videos are important, and we should be doing that too. I think where the sign is more permanent and sort of just sits there and doesn't need to be, it's less ephemeral. The idea came from Mariposa Village. We put up a sign that said, like, right when we bought the property, we put up a sign that said affordable housing coming. And the idea was that this is going to take like 3 years, maybe 4 years, and we don't want anyone to be surprised because, you know, if you drove past it, you saw the sign saying affordable housing is coming, and it seemed to be effective and make people not surprised and keep it on top of mind for everyone who drove past it. And so that's the idea with this too, is just sort of the permanence of the program. And as new people come in, they're not surprised. If you're a user of the Heights, you would see the sign. Once we do the Taylor Avenue connection, it will be a shared use path with enhanced crosswalks on 12th and 13th. So it should be a pedestrian spine for people crossing east-west. We could also move it once the Taylor Avenue is constructed. There might be space to put it somewhere in the right of way and get it off of private property, just as an aside.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point about it being sort of close to where the first milestone is.
Oh, price. I'm not an expert in welding, but I do know just basically anything that's custom nowadays. You know, if it's not built in a factory and mass produced, it's going to be, you know, and it's professional labor. It's going to be expensive.
Anna? I'm good, yes, yeah, great, thank you for asking.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was a little bit torn. Like, I do really appreciate having something that's just there that people can refer to, informational. And also I was like, do we want to spend $8,000 on something like this? I guess part of the, what I'm thinking also is that when this is done, the stand could be reused. So it's not just like, okay, we could use that for something else. And I guess, like you said, the design, we can use that on different places and not just on the sign. But yeah, I think in the end, I'm in favor of it. I do think that is kind of a high traffic area. I use that I turn left on that street a lot, and there's always people crossing the street there. So I think that there is a lot of foot traffic. And if people know, like see it, like, oh, what's that sign say? They might walk over to it. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't just like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever when I first saw it, but I think it would be good and nice to have something for people to refer to. Especially because it is a long process. It's already been a long process, and acknowledging that makes sense and feels good to me.
Thanks.
A couple quick things addressing what other counselors both brought up. This, as mentioned, would be a fairly permanent structure, so it would have a long shelf life. We could move it around, use it to address a number of different projects in the Heights area over time, or other projects as they come up. So in that, it makes sense as a long-lived asset. If we were to do something different, a different delivery method for comms, there's, I would imagine, a higher maintenance cost or printing cost or implementation cost of that communications effort, posters and windows, what have you, because they would need to be put up, regularly maintained, refreshed, and whatnot. And we would not necessarily have a permanent place for those, and we would be relying on businesses to keep them up, maintain them, clean around them, what have you. So that's sort of the trade-off as I look at those two different delivery methods for this communications effort. If we choose to go with this sign, the only gripe I would take, but I pick with the committee recommendation, would be to make the sign more visible to motorists. As people are driving, I don't think they should be reading a sign on the side of the road that has a QR code on it, let's say. Motorists should generally be driving. So that's the one thing that I would disagree with the advisory committee recommendation.
And
Personally, I agree with Councilor Capillari and Mayor. I don't think that this is particularly necessarily, especially for $8,000, and also especially because this is something that's going to be happening in piecemeal. I definitely see the arguments for that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this is particularly necessary for that amount of money.
okay. Gladys.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, like, I like the idea to inform our community for sure. I really do. But I am wondering if there are other ways that are more effective than this signage, and a video, for example, I think would be a better route to go. And you can still have flyers that has a QR code. And when you click on the QR code, that goes to a video that explains all of that. And you can update that video as needed. So I really like the idea of keeping our community members informed. But I don't know that a permanent sign would be the route.
Will, are there any additional plans or budget for more community outreach as more milestones are met, and sort of the sort of thing that Councilor Rivera is talking about that we could point to right now, or is that just kind of at some point we'll discuss that?
Yeah, definitely plan to do outreach at definitely every step where there's a decision to be made, but also just at milestones to trumpet the progress that's happening. So March 9th coming up, we're going to have a joint meeting with the advisory committee to receive the 30% designs for Taylor Avenue. And my idea is, after presenting it to you all, is to do public outreach, newsletter, social media posts, and potentially even an open house or input. But it's really about like an open house presentation, show people how things are coming along. So yes, plan is for public engagement, public information throughout every step of the process.
So we're not like blowing the budget on the sign kind of thing, right? We have other things planned.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, this fits within at least the graphic design fits within the current outreach budget for MIG for the current iteration. And like I said, the whole thing is $70 million. So
did I see another hand down here?
Well, I was just gonna say the other thing is that, as soon as a sign is made, it's gonna be out of date. And I understand there's like a QR code on that, but I feel like so many things can change, or that this is gonna take such a long time, that I am also kind of concerned about that, even if there is a QR code attached to it.
So I will say that's one of the purposes of the sign is there's a sequencing plan of, I think, 11 discrete steps that must happen in a certain sequence for the way the traffic is done. And so that's built into the Heights Streetscape plan. And so that is really the purpose, is to not shift, is to in a really permanent, unchanging way, show what dominoes are going to fall. And maybe we don't know how quickly, because it's on as funding is available basis, but we want people comfortable with the plan and not basically wanting to go back to the drawing board.
So there's no like timeline written on this.
Just sequence.
Okay.
Okay. Amanda?
And I feel like I get possibly more than other people questions about this, just owning Volcanic and having people coming in and like, isn't there something happening up here? So like there really is a need and a want in the community for information about this project. And where are we when I guess we're not addressing the when stuff is happening, but at least people know like, oh, well, if I see this happening, then I know that this is going to be next, and like have just a better understanding of like, this isn't happening overnight, and like we are working on it. And, I don't know. I think there's definitely a need, and I don't know that I don't really feel comfortable asking businesses to like support our posters. I don't know. I have people all the time coming in, will you hang a poster? I'm happy to do that if it's like a 2-week thing. I don't want a permanent poster on my windows or whatever. So I don't think we should really rely on those people for communicating our stuff. Oh my gosh, there was another thing that I had and I can't remember what it was. The video thing. Yes, great, have a QR code to a video, but I think we need more than that, because we need something like tangible. I feel like is an asset to communication. So that's all.
Thank you. All right, so Councilor
I
Cavalier.
just have one quick follow-up question to that, because I think that's a fair and valid point. And as a business owner, your perspective is valuable on like maybe having a permanent poster and a sign in a window isn't something they want to do. But I am curious if the agency is doing anything to keep in constant communications with the business owners up there so that they're updated, and when they get questions about what's happening, they're able to share that. I mean, hopefully business owners feel very informed about what the process is and what the I'm just curious if, what are the strategies to keep those guys informed so that they can share that information as it's asked?
Yeah, yeah, honestly, I could do probably a better job of staying in constant communication with the business owners. I haven't talked to many of them in quite a while. There hasn't been, activity, but I think this rollout of the 30% designs is going to be an opportunity. One, to personally reach out to every business that has frontage on Taylor Avenue and this project, but then also to have the open house, get some FaceTime with people who want to come in, get my card, and just sort of reopen that door.
I would think the chamber could be a useful ally in getting that communication happening.
Well, it is exciting that we're starting to get towards, a design milestone for the first project that's part of it. And yeah, with that, if anyone would like to make a motion, there is one on page 22.
I move that the Urban Renewal Agency Board authorize the creation of a Heights Streetscape Plan informational display and authorize the agency administrator to execute a lease agreement for its installation location.
Motion by Gigi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Paulson. Okay, I think we're gonna have some disagreement on this, so if we could do a roll call on it, starting with Councilor Rivera.
I really support this idea, but I would rather spend that $8,000 on more intense video messaging versus a physical sign. So I'm going to say no. I do like this idea and think we should continue keeping our community members engaged in the process.
Okay, so we have one no. Amanda?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Paul?
No,
Ben?
No.
Anna?
Nope.
Okay, chair votes aye, so that's 4 noes and 3 yeses, so motion fails. Okay.
Glad I brought this. Up.
Me too. A lot of stuff on the sign. Okay, we're gonna move out of the Heights, go back to the west side. Mount Adams Roundabout Contract Amendment.
Thanks. So this is continuation of the Mount Adams roundabout process. Now, as we've discussed ad nauseum before, this is really the key capital project to open up capacity for development all over the west side. We have created 10% engineered designs. The council adopted a resolution instituting a proportionate share district so that new development on the west side will help pay in towards this intersection improvement. And the next step is getting an improved intersection control evaluation with ODOT. And so that process is an iterative back and forth dialogue quite a bit between technical staff at ODOT and the city, questions, comments, and a lot of studies and traffic reviews to get us to a point where ODOT and the city agree what is going to be the treatment of that intersection. And so we proposing a roundabout. Roundabout has been our preferred design in our TSP for quite a while, but it is a state facility, so we need to get the state to agree with us. And the intersection control evaluation is the professional process to get that done. But it takes multiple rounds. We're on our second round of comments from ODOT, and DKS has been our firm helping us move through that process. We ran out of contract authority with them, but then now we've gotten through the financial audit. I've been able to take a review of the West Side District resources, and I think we can comfortably spend another $20,000 on this effort in this current fiscal year, rather than waiting to resume this work in FY27. So I am proposing a $20,000 contract increase, taking the total contract to $91,820 with DKS to continue this work.
Questions for Will? Paul?
I think the uncertainty about this is a true barrier, as Will describes. I'm excited about continuing to move forward. I think it really would unlock some development if we got that intersection straightened away.
Can you forecast for us how many more rounds of conversations are needed to get this done?
Cannot.
Awesome. Okay.
Any additional questions for Will? Okay, with that, there is a suggested motion on page 24 for those $20,000 additional dollars, which is roughly 2.5 signs in sign currency.
I move that the Urban Renewal Agency Board authorize an additional $20,000 for additional intersection control evaluation scope of work with DKS Associates.
Motion by Cavallari,
Second.
second by Ben Mitchell. Any further discussion? Sorry, I was going to say Mitchell, then I forgot your last name for a second. Okay, well, yeah, what's your middle name?
Christopher.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Hi.
Those opposed? Chair votes aye, and motion passes. Final thing today is an admin update. Will alluded to it earlier for the URAB/URAC joint meeting.
Yep, just a reminder, next meeting, March 9th, when the agency portion of the regular meeting on Monday, March 9th, will be joint to receive the 30% designs for the Taylor Avenue improvements with the shared use path and the enhanced crosswalks on Taylor and A streets. So saving on consulting costs by having it presented to the advisory committee and the agency board at once. And also giving the opportunity just to have that interface with your advisory committee. So, thank you.
Thanks, and I think we don't have enough opportunities to do that. We really value the URAC and the work that they do, so excited to be able to meet with them in person. Thanks. I have to ask, are there any items from agency members? Usually or not? Okay. With that, I'll adjourn the Urban Renewal Advisory Board meeting and pass the gavel back to Mayor Blackburn to reconvene City Council.
Great, I'll reconvene us. On to the consent agenda, we have an OLCC permit approval that I will pull off, and I would entertain a motion for the remaining 3 items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Stepina.
Second.
Hold on, I want to jump in.
Oh, go ahead, Gladys.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to jump in around the minutes really quick. And I'm happy to express, hold on, let me pull, sorry. I'm online and I'm pulling up my packet right in front of me. I do
That's
want
all
to
right.
make a quick little addition to the minutes really quick.
Great, so Gladys, I'm gonna hold right there. Second by Polson, so moved by Stepina, second by Polson for those 3 items. Now discussion, and Gladys, it'd be perfect for your addition here.
Yeah, I want to make a correction to page 11 in our minutes. There's a section that talks about public comments and it lists the individuals. It's Patty Lara, Lara, not Patty Laura. I also want to make an addition to page 35 in the packet where it's council comments and it states that I was talking about the retreat. I just want to be clear that I was seeking clarification around feedback from a counselor who was talking about communication agreements, and I brought up historical facts about the retreat and what we have focused on in the past, and that I was trying to gain clarity around. Was the counselor confused around council procedures versus bylaws? So the way that it's stated isn't what I said in our meeting.
Let's make sure we get that right. Can you, we could put off approval. Gladys, do you have kind of a quick fix here, or Is it a more complicated discussion to
Yeah.
figure out what the minutes should record?
Counselor Rivera sought clarification regarding feedback from a fellow counselor about communication agreement, questioning whether there was confusion about existing council procedures or if the bylaws and charter needed to be revisited.
That's what the minutes should say. Is that it, Gladys?
Yes.
I don't have those in front of me. I don't have a sense right in the moment whether that's enough of a change that we want to. Abigail, do you have a sense of that?
Well, it's a statement that I made. And so I write down my statements, and that's not what I said. So the minutes, the way that they're captured, isn't what I said.
I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out how much that differs from what's written and whether we should correct that on the fly in the moment or if we should just put that off.
I can look for the minutes and read the original text to you, but I think for sake of time, we might just pull those off and we can submit a corrected version for the next meeting's consent agenda.
Which meeting was that at, Gladys?
This
January,
is,
February.
this is our last meeting that we had. It's
Okay,
on
so
page 35 of our council packet.
So with permission, the February 9th minutes will be taken off the consent agenda. We will
I think
deal with those in a
I'll
future.
cover here.
Anna, go ahead.
Bylaws should be spelled BYLAWS in that same section. And also our January 26th meeting minutes shows that Mayor Paul Blackburn was with us, but I think you were absent that.
I was not with us.
Yeah,
Right.
so those were, also edits to that.
So with the 9th, February 9th is off the approval here. That correction from Councilor Cavallari, I feel can be captured and we can keep January minutes on. So we are still very much discussing this. Other comments on the consent agenda as it exists with these two changes, no OLCC permit and no February 9 minutes. We do have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. And Abigail, you'll get us February 9th, come back to us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Now, I would entertain a motion for kickstand.
So moved.
Moved by Stupina,
Second.
second by Paulson. Discussion.
Yes, I will abstain from OLCC permit applications. This is not a reflection of these establishments, business or owners. Rather, I object to the fact that we do not have enough transportation options for people who visit these establishments. As a result, they may end up getting behind the wheel and putting themselves and others at risk. I'd like to highlight the broader public health responsibility that we hold. The recent adoption of code allowing transportation networks is a step forward, but access remains limited, especially during late evening hours in our Upper Valley. If we and our countywide partners are able to provide adequate transportation during late evenings and weekends, I will start approving OLCC applications.
Thank you, Councilor. Did you have something to add, Councilor?
No, never mind.
So I don't think I've said this very many times. I'm gonna say it now. I really want to know what's happening with Uber, like in theory versus for real. So if you want to help your mayor and council, please send us a message. If you have used Uber in our city, because maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's allowed, not quite sure. We're still haggling, but real information would be so useful. So thank you. We heard from Councilor Rivera. We have a motion and a second. Discussion on approving this permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thanks, y'all. We have Amy here from CAT. We're going to talk about bus passes for downtown employees. And then we're going to take a little break.
Thank you, Mayor. Bringing you today a proposed IGA, actually a renewal of a intergovernmental agreement that the city has had with Columbia Area Transit for the last couple of years to provide bus passes to downtown employees and the option for the city to pay for low-income residents to receive passes. In the past couple of years, CAT has been able to find other funds for low-income residents, so the city's not paid that, but still want to provide that option in the IGA if their current funding falls through. So The one other thing I have for you is it's downtown employees. I think this was connected to when the parking study came out. That was in 2021. And the funds come from the parking meters. So there's been a direct nexus to downtown. So, but with that, Amy is here in the audience. Amy Sloppy, the executive director for Columbia Area Transit. And Will, as my historian, is also here if we can answer any questions for you.
Thanks for that overview. I want to understand. It sounds like what we're considering is the same as we've been doing
Yes.
for the employee passes. We've been doing that. We're considering doing that again.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing there's a change in the low income support that we're considering because there have been other funds and those are questionable, or have they already said no? And how much of our money are we possibly going to chip in?
Thank you, Mayor. And that has actually, that is also a renewal in that the past IGAs have also had if the other funds that CAT has available fall through, then the city would pick that up. So I don't know, Amy, if you want to speak to what the past history has been of the low income passes?
Yeah, so.
Got talk close to the microphone.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so we pay right now for the low income passes through statewide transportation improvement funds. We are seeing the amount of funds available decrease over the years. So that I'd probably be more concerned about in the next 1.5 years with how much funds we will have available for low income passes. But I think for this next year, we do have funds for low income passes.
Oh, okay. So there's clouds on the horizon.
Yes.
But it appears that in the coming year, the city is not going to have to backfill.
Correct.
How much are we talking about? If we had to backfill?
If we had to backfill for the low income passes?
Yeah.
I think I would probably come to a request that is similar to our downtown employee pass program. So the $6,000. The 6,000.
6,000.
And that's
Great.
for 150 passes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The one thing that I would like the council to be aware of is right now the current pass is $40 for an annual pass. I would assume in the next several years that will probably increase.
This is a little bit off topic, but there was a lot of chatter at the beginning of the ski season that maybe the ski bus was going to change. Can you remind me what happened?
We're still here. The ski bus is running at full service. We did have to delay our full service this year due to staffing levels. And we do have a grant for this past year and the next 2 years that will pay for that service.
And did the price change?
It did. It's $5 each way now. It was $5 round trip.
Is the $40 annual pass going to change soon?
Not in the next couple of years.
Great. Thank you. That was a lot of questions. Others? Gladys, thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question, Amy. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for all that you do. It talks about CAT bus and trolley services, and I don't believe I have seen the trolley. Can you help us understand what's happening there?
Yes.
Great question.
This is a great question. It's a really good question. So right now, for us to lease a trolley bus is just not possible. We have been applying, every time I get a opportunity, I have been applying for a couple of buses that look like trolleys, that are new buses that are not, that don't see some of the maintenance issues that the old trolley buses have.
But Amy is well aware because I bring it up all the time. How the
Yes.
city appreciated the trolley in the summers that it ran, and we would very much like to see that come back.
And we're actually working on an application right now that is again going to be applying for some buses that look like trolleys, but they can be used year round as well. So
Thank you for that. I have one additional question for you, and then I have a question about the contract itself. So in our packet, it says that there were 128 passes distributed of the 150. Is that correct? Great, thank
yes.
you.
And if I
One,
may add to that,
Mhm.
I think the IGA language in the practice has been if all 150 are not distributed, then they roll over. And so our price the following year is reduced.
Correct.
thank you. What I
Well,
was,
sorry, just one correction. It's
Go
not
for it.
necessarily reduced, but those exist within the bucket.
Oh, thank you.
And within some of the reasons why that still exists is because this is a popular program, we at first we limit how much each business can have. So we'll say like, oh yeah, we're giving 2 out, and then if you have more employees that are interested, let us know. We'll make sure we make comments, and if there's remainders or if we just kind of hold on to a little bit. And I think this year maybe we held on to a little bit too much. So, yeah.
thank you. You answered my question there. So all the last question that I had is, in the contract, it says that the city will help with marketing. And so I'm curious how this is being marketed to our community members.
Yeah, and I believe the intent was to just work with so making sure that was on the digital platforms and yeah. That's my
Yeah,
personal-
I think in the city's had it on bulletin boards and other pieces, but certainly open to other ways to help publicize this.
Well, if needed, I'm always happy to help make a video. I would love to have done a video with the trolley, but maybe next time.
Well, I will let you know when we finally get our trolleys.
For sure. Council wants to first
Thank you.
ride.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
all that you do, and appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
That's all. Those are all my questions.
Others, Grant?
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
We talk often. I noticed in the packet we have a lot of non-quantitative feedback from folks. If we can get some quantitative feedback on number of trips that are reduced, that I would appreciate that. That's just me. This is more of a question for council. We're going council policy, but if you would like to shed light or provide feedback on this, it'd be great. This program currently is restricted to the boundaries of downtown. We obviously have other areas of town that are commercial hubs that are restricted in terms of parking or whatever, for whatever purpose. If this program is addressing multiple city council goals, why should we not extend it to more areas of Hood River?
No, I think that's definitely something that council can choose to do. I think it just, how we would reach out to businesses would probably change just a little bit. Just instead of calling each one and reaching out to them, we might have to just change our approach. And it might change how many that we can give to each business at the initial step. But definitely if that's something the council wants to do, especially since we had, some leftover passes this past year, I think that makes sense. And then with regards to your request for quantitative data, totally get that. We have enough businesses who want to re-enroll in the program, where this year we are going to implement a questionnaire. So before they can get their passes, we ask them how many times they've been part of this program, and some more data, like how many times do you use this? Like, does this replace your car to get to and from work, et cetera, et cetera.
Thanks.
Just as a observation, the place where parking is far and away the most restricted and treasured is downtown. I argue because we have meters to manage it. We don't have meters in any other parts of town. So using the bus subsidy to reduce parking demand downtown makes the most sense. I would also love to explore the idea of encouraging participating businesses who want to use the bus passes to give an incentive for those who are members of the Chamber of Commerce. I think that's a collaborative, working together effort that serves our town very well. And, I don't work for them, they don't work for me, but we're good allies, and chamber membership as a perk, or bus pass as a perk for chamber membership. I like the idea of that. Others? Do we need to vote?
Yes, you have a suggested motion in your packet. I believe page 49.
Grant, go ahead.
If I can entertain the mayor's inquiry for a moment, the question and comment that the mayor mentioned was if individual businesses outside of downtown were to partner with the chamber and purchase through either the chamber or individually their own permits for their employees, they would be, and this is a question, they would be doing that on their own, or would the chamber, as you envision it, be subsidizing that purchase?
Great question. I hadn't thought it all the way through about how it would happen. It just seemed like in general, I'd like to see the collab be rewarded. I'd like to think that through.
Okay. From my perspective, just understanding how the fiscal mechanisms work, we as a city provide this benefit through CAT to businesses in the downtown core, and only businesses in the downtown core on behalf of the businesses and employees are only in that downtown core. And we don't extend this benefit outside of that core. So it's the inequity of offering it just to that one group of businesses based on where they're located versus where they may be in the waterfront or the heights, which at some point may experience the same sort of parking restrictions or whatever at some point in the future, depending on if we do the Heights Street development or West Cascade or whatever it is, wherever it is. That seems arbitrary to me.
I see the point now. You make a good point here. We can't tie it to parking meters if we're doing it in a place that doesn't have them, but supporting a downtown business versus supporting another area of business. Yes, that inequity is not the obvious goal of this in my view. You make a good point. I hadn't separated those out before. Thank you.
Amy has a comment.
Just
Amy?
to clarify, I believe it was last year, and I think sometimes the fact that we're still using the terminology downtown and Blypass might be a little confusing, but it actually does in the packet, it does expand from essentially the downtown. It includes the waterfront and then also Walmart, Safeway areas as well.
Oh, yeah,
Just
let's
share
get
that
that
with you.
brushed up because that's not many people's view of downtown.
Yeah.
Now, just to be clear, does it extend to the Columbia Gorge Hotel?
Yes, it does. Well, it's in that area, yes.
Wait, we have disagreement and we have an expert witness here.
Wait,
Your-
is it not? Am I
Your,
wrong?
your map doesn't go that far west.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I am incorrect. It goes to Walmart.
Interesting.
But then it's also not including the heights at all, right? So.
Correct.
Correct.
Another expert witness for the. Yes,
Appreciate it.
Anna.
I'm curious why we can't just, I mean, is it possible to have a program where, you know, the city says we will subsidize up to this amount, 150 passes, and then open it to businesses, and then, you know, it's kind of a lottery system or a first come, first serve, not to like make it harder for a cat, but that way it's like if you are a business within the city of Hood River, you can qualify for this. But the purpose of it is to help alleviate parking in congested areas, but it's also to help our citizens be able to move around more. You know, I'm just thinking about other bus pass programs I've seen in other cities. But I don't know, would that create an imposition on CAT to manage such a thing? Or is that like a policy decision that we get to decide? Because it does kind of make sense to have it be available to, you know, city businesses and residents.
And oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Amy, and then we'll hear Gladys.
And Will maybe can add some more, but I mean, that was I think this program has evolved to a lot, and I think it's up to council to decide how they would like to see it evolve, because we can be flexible in that sense. I think it was just the reason why it was downtown, it was all related to the parking study.
Yeah, I think it's evolved past its origins, but I can tell you the origin was the consolidated fee schedule typically ups things just by an inflationary factor. And we broke from that for parking lots in 2020. And we started saying, anytime we sell out, we're not going to just increase it by inflation, we're going to increase it by $5. And quite often we get pushback from downtown businesses that, you know, downtown parking isn't reinvested back into downtown, it's just subsidizing the general fund. And so to kind of make the argument stick that no, this is about parking demand management, this isn't about growing the general fund, we simultaneously created this program for downtown employers to provide them with free bus passes. So it was kind of a quid pro quo, geographically based. Sounds like it's already been expanded far afield, so I think it's completely just now just city program. That is up to you, how you want to run it.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Gladys?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I completely support the sentiment of expanding. It does create an unintentional inequity to only have it in the downtown corridor or for the downtown businesses, and would be open to expanding it. That was it.
Doug?
Should we expand the amount of money in passes then, or is that not a possibility?
From this conversation, I would say if you can give us some direction, Amy and I'd be happy to go back and tailor the draft intergovernmental agreement, and I can bring it back to you at a future meeting. So keep going, and then Amy and I can work on finishing up the language.
I spend a lot of time thinking about this because I drive the Mount Adams version of this bus. Part of my job is doing that. So I'm driving these buses around town. It's a continual ponderment. How much is it the city's mission to support public transportation? No offense, very important, but it's not like actually the core of what we, the city, do. And we could spend a whole lot of money on public transportation. Also, I know that the Mount Adams bus does not, in fact, turn right at exit 64 and doesn't go to the Columbia Gorge Hotel. So, it doesn't actually provide service in that area. I don't know where the CAT buses go, but it's a complicated thing. And as it's drifted or evolved from its original mission, it will have these additional complications of equity versus parking abatement versus quid pro quo. It's not like a slam dunk and, hey, how come we haven't fixed it yet? In the meantime, the question before us is, shall we approve this? Gladys?
I would say I'm open to keeping to the same amount, $6,000, but expanding it to all the businesses so that it's not just downtown. So keep it at 6,000, but expand the geographical location.
Great. I'm going to say that's not quite a motion yet. We're going to keep talking. Amanda?
Yeah, I would agree with that and reevaluate if we find that the bus passes are selling out and we need to give more money, or we should, we want to do that at a later time. So I move that oh gosh,
Good job.
Before you do that, can Amy just again with a quick comment?
Go ahead, Amy.
I just want to make sure that if with that expansion, that just understands the type of outreach that CAT staff can do is going to change. So right now we reach out individually to all those businesses. That's just not something realistically my staff can do with all of City of Hood River businesses. So we will adjust our game plan, and I'll work with Abigail with that. So I just want to make sure that's kind of clear, but we'll still make sure we're doing that outreach.
Thank you, Amy. Doug, and then back to Amanda, the motion.
I would just say that I think we should direct staff to aid, and like Gladys said, let's create a video, put it out on our, social media. We should push it out on our social media accounts when we get them too, kind of thing. So, yeah, we could help.
Amanda, you ready to move still?
I think so. All right. I move to authorize the city manager to sign an intergovernmental agreement with Columbia Area Transit to provide bus passes to eligible citywide employees.
Moved by Gaiki.
Second.
Second by Rivera. Discussion. I will just put in the plug as long as we're collaborating with publicizing it. Get the $40 pass. It's the freaking best thing. Go to the airport, you go to the mountain. It's just awesome. So
I have one.
just saying. Deliberation on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Can I
Go ahead.
check in? I think I heard that was specific enough that I think I just got direction that we can just handle it. It does not need to come back to you for another review. Is that correct? Great.
Yes,
Yeah,
thumbs all around. Thank you.
Councilor Gaki did a great job with that motion. I got clear direction, so thank you for that.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to take a little break. Be back. Sorry,
Thank
Adam.
you. All right, Mayor, and as our city engineer is coming up, I want to note that this week is National Engineers Week. So shout out to Annie Robinson, our very own engineer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I mean, I would say it would be successful to be an engineer without, you know, people like Randy and Chris and Abigail. And
You have a
Pete
good
and all
team.
the other staff, so. Thank you. So thank you, council, tonight. I'll just do a brief introduction for our presentation tonight by FCS Group. They are, just a little background, this is, following the previous presentation on the capital facilities plan for the stormwater master plan. So we were working with Bell Design on that plan, and now Bell Design is also contracted with FCS Group to do a stormwater rate study to see how our capital improvement projects within the stormwater master plan will affect our stormwater utility rates moving forward. So with that said, I'll pass it off to, I believe it's Luke Nelson and John Giladucci.
Giladucci, yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council. So the way that, and I'm John Giladucci, I'm the principal and project manager on the project, and I'm joined by Luke Nelson. The way that we've arranged this, we'll spend, I mean, just very briefly, I'll touch on the existing stormwater rates, how they are imposed on city customers, and then talk about the revenue requirement, which is the focus of our work. And really all that is a multi-year financial plan for the utility. And then Luke will walk us through the revenue requirements results and what that financial plan looks like. I'll come back and provide a little bit of comparative information and some potential next steps. So these are the existing stormwater rates, and it's actually just the rate on the far right there. We've included a couple years of history, but the current rate is $11.03 per equivalent dwelling unit. So
excuse me, John, I'm sorry. Sorry, John.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Can the Zoom person move the picture so that we can see that's the one. Thank you very much. Sorry, John.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So that rate on the far right, 1103, is the current stormwater rate. It is imposed per equivalent dwelling unit. So all single family residences in Hood River pay that 1103 per month. Other developed property, that being commercial, industrial, etc., they pay based on their measured impervious surface area divided by the value of that EDU, which is almost 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area. So they'll pay a multiple of that rate depending on their impervious surface area. So as I mentioned, the revenue requirement is really a multi-year financial plan, and the result of it is a series of proposed rate adjustments, usually increases. The key inputs in determining that revenue requirement are fiscal policies. We want to make sure that we're being smart and leaving enough money in the bank at the end of each year to handle potential emergencies, that we're being smart about how money is being spent on capital versus operations. So those fiscal policies are important. We build in economic assumptions like projected growth, inflation in our forecast. So we're trying to project what actual costs of operations might look like. We look at operating costs, that being the operating budget forecasted into the future. And probably the big driver as far as this study goes is the capital plan and how that capital plan will be funded. Right now, we are assuming cash funding for stormwater capital projects, and you'll see that has a significant impact on the rates. So a little bit of additional background on rate making. I mentioned we start with the costs of providing services and forecast those into the future. The two main types of costs are the operating costs, which include salaries and benefits, inspections, repair and maintenance. Those are fairly predictable from year to year. We know what the operating costs are going to be. It's the capital costs that are sizable dollars. They jump around a lot from year to year. They include infrastructure replacement, system expansions and upgrades, things like that. So we look at all those factors to again determine what that revenue requirement will be for each year in a multi-year projection. We take into account the fiscal policies, the forecasted operating costs, debt service if there is any, and then how we're going to fund capital into the future. And those four factors determine our annual revenue needs.
All right, so let's look at what this actually means for the city of Hood River. So we started off by taking financial and planning documents from the city and Bell Design, and kind of basing the forecast off of these. On the next slide, these are the assumptions that we built in. So we're forecasting 20 years. We're starting with modest growth in terms of 0.43%. And that's going to represent just growth within the system without any rate increases. And then we looked at inflation at being about 5% for general and construction projects and a little bit less than that for labor and benefits. In terms of the capital improvement plan, we have $16 million through 2035 in unescalated costs being assumed. Applying inflation to those, we reach up to about 22 million through 2035. So in this graph, we kind of look at what we need to be able to meet that capital, as well as maintain, be able to fund any operating expenses and existing debt. So we see that solid straight line eventually is not covering even the operating costs as we get across, but it's also not funding any capital. So we need, we implement these double-digit rate increases for the first few years, kind of tailor it off until we get to inflationary increases towards the back. And that dashed line represents being able to fund that capital in that plan. So with those double-digit increases, we see that we're raising the monthly bill by $3, $4, and kind of increasing from there until it tailors off in the 2030s.
Okay, thanks, Luke. So I'm sure we'll want to come back to that. I know those rate increases are significant, at least by percentage. The dollar amounts are not as bad. And it really relates to the capital plan and the amount of capital spending that the city needs to do. So just to give you a sense, and I will caution you that everybody's systems and needs are different. So we're looking at a rate comparison here. Hood River, middle of the pack at the current time, at least among these comparables. And then with that first year would move up between $13 and $14. You see that one on the right hand, that right hand blue column. Many of these rates of these other cities will also be going up, but we don't know by how much and where the city will stand after 26, fiscal year 26. So some potential next steps. I mentioned that capital costs are the real driver of these pretty significant increases. One thing that the city might consider doing is refining the project list. And what I mean by that is confirming the prioritization. The list is organized in high, medium, and low priorities, which determine where they're scheduled in our analysis. The city may wish to review that and then incorporate the high priority projects into their capital planning. Another thing, Luke showed you a 10-year planning period. If we were to spread that out over 20 years, the execution of those projects, then the rate increases are more like 20% a year for the first few years instead of 30%. And of course, the dollar amounts are similarly lower. We've had a discussion with the Public Works Director in advance of this meeting. And one of the things that he would like to look at is potentially looking at debt for all three utilities as a way of mitigating some of these increases. So examining, the careful use of debt and potential other external funding to try and, again, reduce the impact of those capital projects on the city's ratepayers. Our recommendation is not to go the full 30% in year one with these other potential next steps hanging out there, but it would be to increase the rate from the current 1103 to 1324, which would be a 20% increase for fiscal year 2027. And then to potentially coordinate the further increases that you saw with water and sewer capital and rate planning to come in the next year or two. And that's our prepared material.
Thank you. Annie, are you going to come back up or?
Yeah, there actually isn't any recommendation for staff right now other than just to kind of listen and ask questions about this. There was a couple recommendations that FCS group had suggested, and if you want to discuss that now, that might be good for our staff direction.
Great, thank you. Amanda and then Grant.
I'm still kind of new to all this, so I'm just curious about, okay, so we raised the rates for the capital projects, and they're pretty significant. And then after the time period that we're looking at, are the rates still that high? We don't have the capital, we paid for the capital, but then do the rates stay, like what happens then? Do we go back down? I mean, it just seems like once you go up, it never comes down. And so I'm curious how that goes.
And Bell Design may be able to speak to that a little better than I can, but the capital projects go on for many, many years. And as you say, so they're looking at a 20-year period, and we developed the financial plan that will allow the city to execute those projects. I would say, and I'm not an engineer, but it's likely that there will be new projects that arise as the city nears the end of that window. And at least that's what always seems to be the case. That's also, though, an opening to look at using debt, because it does spread. If there is let's say a mountain that needs to be climbed, and then once those projects are built, the capital spending can go back down again. If you use debt carefully, you can spread the repayment of those costs over many years, and they will benefit customers for many, many years. But it means that your near-term ratepayers don't have to bear the full cost of those projects. It gets spread out over many years. So I hope I answered your question there. But you're right. Usually there are new projects once the current projects are built.
Right. Just to clarify your comments about debt and debt loading, assuming we were to take on debt to build some of these requirements, we would be taking on an obligation that lives in the future. And so future ratepayers would be taking on that liability, correct?
That's right.
Thank you. What would be a follow-up question? What was the logic behind the recommendation for a 20% increase as opposed to a 30?
So in the discussions we had with the Public Works director in advance of this meeting, there some of those potential next steps that and I'll share that screen again. Would effectively could reduce the near-term need for that 30% increase if the city were to look at using debt, if the city were to spread out the execution of the list to a longer period of time, it would reduce that initial bump that was needed and buy some time to coordinate with the other utilities. That was his main concern. I hope I'm not speaking for him here, but was coordinating future increases with water and sewer capital and rate planning. So that was the idea to pick a smart first year that would allow the city to look at again at the long term and coordinate it with water and sewer.
Okay, thanks. And then one last thing that came up. Assuming we just paid for this all with rate increases, hypothetically, did you guys forecast when all of these capital projects would be paid off in full using the revenue model that you guys forecasted?
Yeah, and Luke, we had a long planning period, but the period we showed you would have executed the project list in 10 years. Is that right?
I believe that the full project list would be executed in 15 years, the way that we were looking at it.
We're looking at a 10-year window.
But we were looking at the first 10 years for the slideshow.
Okay, so after 15, just to clarify, after 15 years, there would be no additional debt on the books. We potentially the city would be looking at another CIP around 20 years from now or so. But they would be in similar position that we are now to evaluate future CIP needs without a debt burden should we execute this plan.
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And I see that Stoner Bell is on. He may be able to shed some light on this.
Stoner?
Okay, sorry, I was trying to unmute. This utility is unique from the water and the sewer in that the size of the pipes are based off impervious area as it's developed, which is somewhat not connected exactly to population growth. So the plan really looks at build out. And so and John and I've talked about this. I mean, the pipes are good for, I mean, in reality, they're probably good for 100 years, but we'll say 70, and there shouldn't be any really major new infrastructure that would be needed. I mean, this plan, I'm not sure when the last time the city really invested in the stormwater system. I mean, outside of down on what we've seen down there on the waterfront, which was from pipes that were 60 years old that failed. So where I'm going with this is I don't think it would be bad to extend the payment period out over a longer period than, recovery longer than 10 years, because it's not going to be in the situation. And also if we use debt, you're not going to be in the situation if you kick the debt down the road, 20, 30 years, and then you still have all that debt and now the system needs to be replaced. It's not going to be like that. So that's the kind of case you can find yourself in with like wastewater treatment plant upgrades and, major water pumping stations, facilities, things like that. You don't want to get into that situation.
Thanks,
I don't know
Stoner.
if that was clearer, but that's one of the options was to stretch the payments out over a longer period of time.
Thanks, Stoner, for that clarification. I do want to add, though, that much of the master plan was based off of capacity needs and not so much on treatment of stormwater needs. That, you know, as we have different regulations that come from, you know, EPA down to DEQ, down to us doing different requirements for water quality, you know, salmon safe rivers, all these other things, you know, that's something that we will be kind of also addressing in future updates for our master plan. But, you know, everything is ever evolving, and we didn't really have water quality standards, I think, when this master plan initially was started. So that's something that, you know, we can look forward to, and capital improvement projects could address a lot more of the environmental factors that come from stormwater. So.
I gotta say, when I see the suggestion of a 30% increase, it makes me feel like we really should have been doing something sooner. Like that feels like an asleep at the switch kind of a thing, which is not my favorite thing. And it's complicated, and I appreciate your expertise, but it's like, wait a minute, 30%. And I hear that we can extend it out to make it a smaller 2-digit number, but still. Have we had much benefit to our system's ability to function well and economically with the increasing requirements for parcels of land to do some more local treatment? I know, for example, that co-housing project with 24 residences has like the most impressive piece of concrete I've seen this year, like a huge effort to slow down their runoff. Does that create an appreciable reduction in the demand on our system, or is that just kind of a small potatoes thing?
That's a complicated question. There's many ways to look at this, but, you know, when we look at build out of land, we often, when we talk about stormwater, we say, you know, if it's, we try to mimic the previous developed hydrologic conditions. And so a lot of these developments that are currently happening are trying to mimic exactly what's happening on their footprint of land that was pre-development. So that means that they're caring for their piece of land. Whereas, you know, in our right of way, we have a lot of we have a lot of things that are happening in our right of way that have to be impervious. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we have larger storm conveyances, because often we don't have anywhere to infiltrate in our lands. We have a lot of hard pan. We have a lot of non-infiltrative areas that get directed towards our right of way because people don't know where to put their stormwater. And a lot of older, you know, previous to the 2000s, no one did anything about stormwater other than get it away from me, you know? So it's kind of, that was the practice. Yeah, did that help answer your question a little
Sure,
bit?
thank
Okay.
you. Stoner.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the west side, we did take that into consideration. We reduced what we normally would have tried to put in the pipes by 50% because there is a requirement to do no net increase full detention, and now, you know, more LID, which is even better. But the reason we did that was because we had, as we, you know, kind of annexed in and took over some systems that the county had approved that were supposedly no net increase, they had massive failures. And it was because a lot of these systems are privately owned and they just didn't have maintenance. And then, so especially like infiltrative type galleries, they're kind of like centralized infiltration or water treatment facilities for the subdivision. They had failed. They had been privately operated. True LID, where it's all on each individual lot, there's less risk of that failure, but it's still, anyways, because of that, we took 50% plus all the roads.
Thank you, Stoner. Anna.
Can you just clarify for me, the these rate increases would be for capital improvements, so that's expansion of our current system, but not like maintenance of our old stuff. Is that right? Or would it cover, like the rate increases would also cover improvements to existing infrastructure? Is that considered a capital improvement, or does it have to be expansion?
It would cover everything,
Thank you.
existing and new.
Could you talk a little bit more about debt? I know we're talking a lot about putting a question to the voters about whether they would like to take on some debt. Would this be something that we could do administratively, or is this a bond measure on the ballot?
So that's really up to you. There are a couple different kinds of debt. Your utilities have the option of issuing revenue bond debt, which is secured by the rates. The terms are not quite as good as a voted general obligation bond issue, but you got to pass. You got to pass a public vote. Obviously, there are also full faith and credit obligations, which essentially pledge all the resources of the city to repay them without an associated tax increase. So that's out there. But I mean, the two basic options are revenue bonds secured by the rates and general obligation bonds, generally secured by taxes or other resources.
Thank you. Let me work backwards from the end. The goal is to approve a 1-year rate increase tonight, or are we looking to approve that whole dotted line curve, or where are we?
I think it's just information tonight.
Yeah, this is just informational tonight. I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we'll probably come back as a staff to kind of determine next steps and
Right.
and then do a proposal on rate studies.
Tonight, we also want to hear, are we on the right track? Do you have any big concerns or other direction you want city staff to be investigating before this comes back to you in a more finalized form?
One second, Grant. So to that, I will say, how come it's 20 or 30%? Why wasn't it, 3.5% all along?
You mean like in the past, when you say
Yeah.
all along?
Yeah.
I think our public works staff can speak more to this than I can, but stormwater is a fairly new utility. And I think the fact that the master plan isn't finished and pieces show that we're a little bit late to that game, where we've had water for, 100 years. We've got that one pretty dialed in, where stormwater is kind of a new science for us. And the fact that we're doing so much more focus on infill has created needs to upsize pipes and to, redirect pieces along with the statutory environmental work that Annie mentioned. So it's been we're late to the game and it's rapidly changing.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, echoing as to why we're behind the ball a little bit. So we haven't set aside money or done anything for this particular thing before. A little bit of commentary. If we are talking about debt loading for this is something for council to consider. That will, in absolute terms, make this capital improvement plan cost more money, period. Anytime you finance anything, it makes the cost of the project more expensive, period. So then that's a policy choice for us to make, how much we want to bend down that increase curve at the expense of this costing more in absolute terms and debt burdening future generations for this expense, period. That's it.
Gladys.
One of the recommendations was to refine the project list, and I was hoping to gain more clarity around when that would happen, or the deadline for that, when that needs to take place.
Well, I think that's one that is up to the city as well, whether they even entertain that as a potential next step. That was something that that could be done over the course of the next months or longer, and the city could still implement a first year increase to buy some additional time to I guess, take a second look at that project list or how to execute it. There's
Thank
no hard
you.
deadline on that.
Yeah, thank you. And to Annie or Abigail, I know that we'll be having discussions around retreat, and one of them is to incorporate the high priority projects. How would we incorporate this conversation into these retreats, or is there a plan to have this longer discussion at a later time?
I think an opportunity coming up in the next 2 months is the capital improvement plan or the capital improvement project list is part of the budget. And so staff will bring you a list of here's what we anticipate in the next 5 years, and here's why we have ranked them the way we have. And that's an iterative process. I mean, you're always looking 5 years ahead, and staff are adjusting. You might remember last year, Adam showed you a number of videos about like the worst pipes in town and why those made the top of the list. And I don't know if he's planning videos for this year, but he always entertains us. Just as we look at that the CIP list is, it's a very iterative process, and we're always adjusting that. So you have a chance to revisit that every year.
Other comments on this? Amanda?
And yeah, I don't know. I was just pretty surprised by the amount of increase here. Like, pretty much like, if I think I'm doing this right, 400% over 10 years or something. Like, that's huge. So I would like to see us try to mitigate that as best we can with, the other debt and things. I just think that's a lot to ask of our customer, like our citizens, and we all have to pay for that. And so it's like this thing that's being forced on us, and it's a big increase. So I'm just putting my 2 cents in for doing what we can to make that less. Or longer periods of time or something.
All right. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, John and Luke.
Thank you very much.
Topic, Gil?
That's it. Thank you. And stormwater, let's say, is something that didn't get a lot of attention 2 decades ago, and now you're spending a lot of time with it. So I appreciate your time and attention to this topic.
Moving on to city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's give you a couple quick things. First, I want to acknowledge Chris Crean is serving as your attorney today. So he is on the screen, or there he is.
Hi, Chris.
So thank you, Chris, for being here. Dan is out for, I think, another week. So if things come up in this meantime, Chris has been very helpful in prepping for this meeting, and I appreciate you, Chris. With Dan being gone, I'm sorry to say he and I just didn't connect about finalizing the social media policy. My apologies. I will bring that to you at your next meeting. But if you council members are interested in a social media account, happy to get that process started so that when the policy is adopted at the next meeting, it can launch right after that. So let me know, and Jackie and I can work with you on that piece. Just a quick ICE update or immigration enforcement. I think we are very close to finalizing the postcard that would go out to all city mailboxes. Only a few staffers have left to have training. Sandy got almost everybody touched before I left, or while I was on vacation.
Only a few staff remain to get trained.
To receive training.
Staff left, I don't like sound.
No, you're right. That's exactly like I try not to say we lost people, right? And then my last immigration enforcement piece is Jackie sent out a doodle poll to all of you trying to schedule a town hall. So please look for that link in your email and reply. We are meeting with Nextdoor on Wednesday and really hope to get as many dates pinned down as we possibly can. And then as the mayor mentioned it earlier, an update on Uber. I can tell you that at this time, Uber has put a geofence around the city. There is no Uber activity happening in the city. People might start a trip somewhere else and be dropped off here, but no trips are originating in our area. We've, as staff, have been going back and forth with Uber. As you are aware, they had some concerns and objections to the fee schedule. So we are hoping to have one more conversation with them before we bring that topic back to you. So not a lot of detail, but I would be very, very surprised if anyone is able to generate a trip here in Hood River at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Budget Committee.
Oh, thank you. I think we we have 3 members who terms are up. They may be interested in renewing, but we are looking for 1 or 2 counselors who can join our finance director for interviews. So looking for 1 or 2 volunteers. I see Counselor Rivera has raised her hand. Is that a yes to volunteer, or was that a comment?
I guess I had a question around the Uber update.
Uh-huh.
While I appreciate the amount of effort that's gone to coordinate with Uber, I'm also curious to hear if there has been any additional follow-up with Lyft. I know that at one point, quite some time ago, there
Yeah.
was an initial conversation, and not sure if there have been others that have been approached besides Uber.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. Early on this process, we've been doing this for several years now. Lyft was engaged and I had good conversations with them. And then I think that person must have left and I've been unable to find a Lyft person again. So put that back out into the universe. If anybody knows someone in Lyft government relations, hook me up. Thank you. So
I'm happy to help however you need. I'm
Super.
happy to call folks.
Okay, thank you. And actually, Executive Director Amy Schloppy from Columbia Area Transit has been helpful with that in the past as well. So I'll reach out to her again. So now I'm looking for a volunteer or 2 to help with budget committee interviews. Anyone?
I can help if and when I'm available.
Great. I'll help.
Anna and Grant, thank you all.
Super. So either Jen or Chris will reach out with possible dates. Thank you very much.
Anything else, Abigail? Committee reports, Anna,
I've got nothing.
Ben,
Nothing from me.
Doug.
Yeah, first of all, Visit Hood River met last Wednesday, but I was not able to attend, so I'm meeting with Katie in a couple days. So I'll have an update for you next time about their last board meeting in February. Taste of Saruta is coming up, so yeah, I mean, the kids are coming soon. You can see Councilor Rivera's got some tickets. I have some tickets. The way this works is the Taste of Saruta is the major fundraiser for the Sister City program. And on March 14th, Saturday, March 14th is going to be that Taste of Saruta fundraiser. It's a lot of local businesses that don't, that bring in food and so on and so forth. It's at the Mount Hood Winery from 5 to 7 p.m. Dinner will include traditional and local Japanese cuisine, including sushi, chicken, seafood, vegetarian, dessert, silent and live auctions, wine tastings, artwork dinners, and more. Tickets are $50 per person or for $500 for a table of 8. Tickets can be purchased by emailing hoodriversistercity@gmail.com or by contacting a board member. Gladys and I are both board members, so you can contact Councilor Rivera or I, and if anybody on the council or city staff would like anything, Kevin Liberty as well as a board member. So a lot of ways to be able to get the fundraiser tickets. Also that day, the schedule is going to be a little different than it was last year in terms of what the kids are doing. There's a little bit less, coordinated activities to give them a little bit more time to do some stuff. They expressed an interest in being in school a little bit more, so they're going to be visiting the middle school. But that morning, they're actually going to be coming to the firehouse. So they came to the firehouse last year as well. We had received a new fire engine and they helped push it in ceremoniously. But they'll have a welcome breakfast there, spend some time, get a tour that morning of March 14th of the firehouse. There'll also be a planting of a tree. They'll visit the cemetery as well. And yeah, just, it's an incredible program and it's been going for about 50 years now, and would urge anybody in the community to come out and support that fundraiser. That's it for me. Any questions about that from anybody? Anything to add, Gladys, on that note? Okay, thanks.
Grant, committee?
Region 1 ACT meeting is next week, Monday.
Amanda?
I don't have anything right now.
In December, there was a 7.6 magnitude earthquake in the province where Saruta is. So I just wrote a letter to the mayor and was like, hey, you heard about that? I got a letter back with a cute picture of him wearing the ski jacket that I gave him. Thank you for your kind concern about our recent earthquake. It was strong. However, luckily Saruta suffered no losses or damage. They've been getting tons of snow. There's a picture of him in front of a 4-foot snowbank, kind of cute. So as Doug said, I mean, nearly 50 years this has been going on, and hundreds of kids have gone across the ocean. And given the geopolitics these days, I think knowing some folks way over there is just an excellent idea. So join in. It's fun. I'll be at the dinner on the 14th. No other comments for me. Council comments. Amanda, oh, Gladys, I skipped you.
That's okay.
For committee, you get to go committee and council comments.
Okay, committee, I'll bring you all a larger committee report at our next meeting. For council comments, I just wanted to take a moment, it is Black History Month, and to acknowledge the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who most of you know as a powerhouse in the civil rights movement and a lifelong advocate for justice, dignity, and economic empowerment. Reverend Jackson reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Words that just continue to ring true and to call us toward courage and action. I just wanted to take a moment to thank Black in the Gorge for all the activities that they have planned. I hope many of you have had an opportunity to join, and going out to the Center of Arts, for example. I know I've enjoyed seeing all the pictures and all the art that has happened here. Besides that, that is everything for me. Thank you so much.
Amanda, council comments.
I don't have any.
Grant.
I'll start off by saying the mayor and I were able to meet with House Representative Dexter on Saturday. Saturday?
Saturday.
Yep.
And Piper.
And Piper. Piper was there. She goes everywhere. Expressed concerns within the community at the federal level. So shared everybody's views and whatnot with our House rep. Let's see. I have a more personal council comment. We earlier in this meeting saw explicitly in the numbers how much necessarily this CIP for just stormwater rates may increase, which we still need to discuss and talk about. But it is a thing that exists. There are liabilities that exist on our books. There are objectives that we as a council wish to meet, housing, roads, a number of liabilities, both accrued and addressed, and also accrued and unfunded, which continue to accumulate, which I believe we as a council should do a better job in addressing. We have not yet had time to get together in a strategic meeting or any sort of retreat and talk about a number of these issues yet. I understand we're all busy people, but I am concerned that we are not going to have time to do that before we get busy with budget season, then summer, then it'll be election season, and the year will just vanish before us. And the longer this goes on without us addressing these concerns, the less we will be able to do to work for the benefit of those in our community. So my personal encouragement for all of us is to set aside the time as much as we can collectively to work on behalf of our constituents and the community in which we are elected to serve. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Grant. Doug.
Not much for me. Just want to echo the sentiments shared by Councilor Rivera about Black History Month. Also, I think it's important to recognize the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I grew up in Chicago. Actually, was very close to him once at a White Sox game. If my dad's watching, he probably remembers that. It's a good story. Yeah, it's I think we have to do as much as we can to sort of recognize some of these really important figures in America when we didn't even get, any recognition from the federal government about the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Just completely despicable in my assessment. So I think we should do more of it at our level because it's not being done by the federal government. Thank you.
Ben.
Nothing from me.
Anna.
Yeah, I don't have anything either. I just thank you to Grant and Gladys and Doug for mentioning things that you mentioned. I do think that, I always, before every meeting, I always go back to what our mission is and just try to focus on that. And I'm just going to it's provide essential services at the lowest possible cost to continually enhance the quality of life in Hood River. And I think that you make a good point, Grant, that we need to be discussing those things, because we got to go back to, like, stormwater is an essential service, roads, safety, public safety, all those things. We just focusing on that stuff is really important.
That brings us to the end of the agenda. Anything else for the good of the order? Do we start at 6 PM even when we have URAC visiting?
I think we currently are planning for 6 PM, but if you would like, we can check with the URAC members for early start, if you would like to start at 5:30 or 5 o'clock.
If we could talk about that just for a second. So
Sure.
for me, it makes it worse because, like, it's less like eat dinner and then come, but it starts earlier. And if there's a whole segment dedicated to URAC, and then there's a full agenda of items, 10 o'clock is not fun either. So do folks have any like preferences, like start at 6 or start at another, like, what? Go ahead.
I would just will say that URAC meets at 6 when they meet.
Okay. So that's they're gonna be ready for.
That's their normal time. It's usually the other, it's every other Thursday or so,
They meet at 5:30 actually.
5, oh, it is 5:30?
They do.
So yeah, they have but it's Thursdays, just, so it's
Okay, thank you.
it's a different day.
Anybody else? Pro 6 or earlier? Those seem to be the two choices. Amanda?
I'm open for earlier if it works for people.
Okay.
Pro 6 because of my job.
Yeah. Anna?
I know whatever.
Either one. Grant?
Oh, I have usually on council my nights I have bridge authority between 2 and 4, so I'm available anytime after 4.
Okay. Okay. URAC meets at 5:30 on the regular. Let's say 5:30. Is that okay? We'll say, Doug, go
I
ahead.
want Ben to be here.
5:30 is challenging.
It's challenging.
I could do it if that's what works, but
Okay.
sometimes stuff comes up with the mountain and
Yep, right.
it's a little bit hard.
Thank you, Doug, for throwing. So, all right, 6 o'clock, regular time, and we'll see URAC here, and they'll be the first portion. Is that the idea?
That's right. I think we'll probably have you all sit together on the floor, and then if we take a quick break, we'll break down that
Great.
furniture.
Thanks. That's helpful for me to understand. I didn't know about the bridge starting and stuff too. Thanks all. We're adjourned.
Thank you.